everyone, my name is Ginger Barzodi, and today I'll be presenting on alcoholism, also known as alcohol use disorder. This condition affects millions of people each year and has serious impacts on both physical and mental health. Alcoholism, also called alcohol use disorder or AUD, is more than just drinking a lot, it's a medical condition. People with AUD struggle to stop or control their alcohol use, even when it's clearly causing problems at work, at home, or with their health. According to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, over 29.5 million Americans aged 12 and up were affected by this disorder in 2021. That's a huge portion of the population, and many go untreated or undiagnosed. This disorder affects the brain's reward system, self-control, and decision-making. Recognizing it as a medical issue, not just a choice, is an important first step in addressing it. Here's what I'll be covering today. We'll start with the anatomy and which organs are most impacted by alcohol use. Then I'll explain how the brain and liver normally function, followed by how chronic alcohol use disrupts those systems. After that, we'll go into diagnosis and treatment options, including some emerging technology like AI tools that assist in identifying alcohol use disorder. Finally, we'll close with some key statistics and demographic data. When alcohol is consumed in excess over time, it affects several major systems in the body. The brain is one of the first areas impacted, especially regions like the prefrontal cortex, which helps with decision-making, and the hippocampus, which handles memory. That's why long-term alcohol use can lead to poor judgment and memory issues. The liver is responsible for metabolizing about 90% of the alcohol we drink, but over time, this workload causes damage, starting with fatty liver, progressing to inflammation known as alcoholic hepatitis, and eventually cirrhosis, which is irreversible scarring. Lastly, alcohol irritates the stomach and digestive system. This can lead to ulcers and reduced absorption of nutrients, making it harder for the body to stay healthy even if a person is eating well. Aside from the brain and liver, alcohol also affects several other major body systems, starting with the cardiovascular system. Heavy drinking over time can enlarge the heart and raise blood pressure, both of which increase the risk for serious conditions like stroke or heart failure. The pancreas is also vulnerable. Alcohol disrupts its ability to manage insulin and digestive enzymes, which can lead to inflammation known as pancreatitis and even contribute to diabetes. Finally, alcohol affects hormones. It can disrupt reproductive health in both men and women, leading to lower fertility rates due to hormonal imbalances. Before we understand how alcohol causes problems, we need to know how the brain normally works. Our brain relies on chemicals called neurotransmitters. Two of the most important ones are GABA, which calms the brain, and glutamate, which excites it. Alcohol increases GABA and decreases glutamate, which is why we feel relaxed or slowed down when we drink. Alcohol also affects dopamine, which is tied to the brain's reward pathway. That's the part that makes drinking feel good at first. The prefrontal cortex helps with decision-making, judgment, and impulse control, while the cerebellum keeps us coordinated. That's why when people drink too much, they might stumble, slur their speech, or make poor choices. The liver is the main organ responsible for metabolizing alcohol. It uses two key enzymes, alcohol dehydrogenase and aldehyde dehydrogenase. Together, they convert alcohol in two steps. First, into acetaldehyde, which is highly toxic, and then into acetate, which is much less harmful and easier for the body to eliminate. Over time, heavy drinking overworks the liver, leading to fat buildup, inflammation, and eventually cirrhosis, which is severe liver scarring. Aside from breaking down alcohol, the liver also plays a role in regulating blood sugar levels, managing hormone balance, and filtering toxins from the blood. That's why liver damage from alcohol can affect so many other systems in the body. Now that we've covered how the brain is supposed to function, here's how alcohol disrupts that balance. Over time, the brain adjusts to alcohol's effects by making GABA receptors less responsive. This leads to tolerance, meaning more alcohol is needed to feel the same effects, and eventually dependence. Alcohol also suppresses glutamate, which slows down brain activity and causes cognitive issues like poor memory or brain fog. The brain's reward pathway becomes overloaded with dopamine, reinforces drinking as a pleasurable behavior. This makes it harder to stop, even when negative consequences appear. With long-term use, the brain can even shrink, and its ability to rewire itself, called neuroplasticity, is reduced. This makes recovery and learning harder over time. In the liver, the damage starts with a toxic byproduct called acetaldehyde, which alcohol is broken down. Acetaldehyde accumulates and damages liver cells. Next, the liver starts to build up fat, a condition called steatosis or fatty liver. If drinking continues, this fat buildup can cause inflammation, known as alcoholic hepatitis. Over time, inflammation turns into scar tissue, a condition we call cirrhosis. Once scar tissue forms, the liver can't do its normal jobs like detoxifying blood and managing metabolism. That's why liver failure is one of the most serious complications of long-term alcohol abuse. Alcohol use disorder is diagnosed using the DSM-5, which defines it as a pattern of drinking that causes significant distress or problems in daily life. Doctors often use tools like the audit or CAGE questionnaire to screen for risky drinking behavior. In addition to behavioral screening, blood tests can also point to alcohol misuse. Common findings include elevated GGT, an increased AST to ALT ratio, and MCV, which is a measure of red blood cell size. In more serious cases, doctors may also order liver imaging to check for structural damage. Treatment for alcohol use disorder often combines behavioral therapy and medication. One common approach is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which helps people recognize and change thought patterns that lead to drinking. Another is motivational interviewing, which encourages individuals to explore and commit to personal reasons for change. Medications can also support recovery. Naltrexone helps reduce cravings by blocking opioid receptors. Acamprosate works by restoring the brain's chemical balance, especially with neurotransmitters like GABA and glutamate. Finally, disulfiram creates a strong deterrent. If alcohol is consumed, it causes nausea and other unpleasant symptoms. These treatments work best when combined and tailored to that specific individual. Alcohol use disorder doesn't affect all groups equally. According to the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, over 29 million Americans have AUD, with the highest rates among young adults aged 18 to 25. Statistically, men are twice as likely as women to be diagnosed with AUD, and certain populations like Native American and Alaskan Native communities face even higher rates of alcohol-related health consequences due to systematic and social factors. Overall, alcohol misuse leads to about 140,000 deaths in the United States each year, making it one of the leading preventable causes of death. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.